IELTS Introduction, Student's Book by Sam McCater. CD2. Unit 7, The Mind. Listening, Track 1. Section 3. You will hear two university students talking about a presentation on psychology. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hi, Caroline.
Oh, hi, Henry.
Do you mind if I join you?
No, by all means. I'm just sitting here thinking about what to do for this presentation next week. I've been in the library all morning.
Ah, I know what you mean. What are you doing the presentation on?
Oh, it's, something for my psychology module. My aim is, to show how modern technology has an impact on people's brains, such as memory, skills, and so on.
Wow, sounds interesting. But why did you choose that topic?
I'm just fascinated by the way the brain functions. I think if I had to choose my course again, I'd do psychology as my main course.
Really?
I can't believe how interesting it is. There are masses of data on the negative effects of technology, like making people lazy because they don't have to remember everything, like telephone numbers.
Even Samuel Johnson, the dictionary writer, who lived and worked in the 17th century, once said there are two types of knowledge, the one you know and the one you know where to find.
Oh, that sounds good. Can I use that in one of my slides?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to find where it came from. I can't remember.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 6. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 6.
I've got a plan here of my talk.
That looks very organised.
It's only a plan. The first 5 slides are about statistics relating to the use of technology, and then slides 6 to 8 are basically on background details regarding unreal or virtual worlds on the internet. Just by chance, I found an article on how being avatars in these virtual worlds works.
OK.
In virtual worlds or unreal worlds on the internet, people become virtual people with a different personality.
Ah, OK.
And they adopt this personality and way of life, etc., in this world. It's like a game.
That sounds weird, but very interesting. Can you send me a copy of the article?
Yeah, but there is an interesting effect, and that is that even if people are avatars for only a short period of time, it increases their confidence in the real world.
Yes, that is interesting.
And then slides 9 to 12 are on the development of young people's manual skills. There's evidence to show that playing video games really helps motor skills.
OK.
And slides 13 to 20 are on memory and thinking and how using technology alters people's thinking strategies.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
It sounds very impressive.
Do you think so? I spent a lot of time putting together the slides. In fact, I've been working on them for the past week. I have to say, I didn't think it would take me quite so long.
Well, they do take quite a while to make.
And the other thing which took me ages was dealing with the handouts to go with the presentation.
Is that a copy there?
Yes.
Do you want some suggestions?
Yes, sure.
The presentation is 30 minutes, yes?
Yes.
Well, I think you've got too many slides. 10 to 12 would be more than enough.
Do you think so? Just 10 to 12?
Yes, well, with 20 slides, that is 1.5 minutes per slide.
Oh, yes, that's not a lot.
And also, if I were you, I'd then make notes on paper copies of the slides to help you as you speak.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea.
Speaking 2. Track 2.
Another reason why I liked the program was that it was stunning to watch. It used the latest technology to show how the human brain works. The images were very effective. It was more exciting than an adventure film. If the documentary was shown in 3D, I'd love to see it again. And I can say that I definitely recommend it to my friends to watch.
Unit 8. A World with Water. Listening. Track 3. Section 4. You will hear part of a talk on waterways of the world. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Angela Christie from the Department of Engineering. My lecture today is titled Waterways of the World, Engineering Wonders. In my talk, I shall be looking at both canals and rivers, particularly those in built-up, that is, city environments. There are some canals which are vital trade links for shipping between major oceans, such as the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal, but they need to be dealt with separately. The talk is split into two main sections. First, we will look at the location of 4 waterway systems in the world and then at the engineering construction in each area. The first section will take about 15 minutes and the second section will last about 45 minutes. If we look at this map of the United Kingdom, we can see that the country has an extensive system of waterways totalling 3,100 kilometres or 2,225 miles that covers many parts of the UK. Let's take London as an example, where the waterways are a source of employment and leisure facilities. Regarding the extent of the network in London, we can see from this slide with facts and figures that London has 161 kilometres of canals and rivers, along with 159 bridges owned by British Waterways. It's also worth pointing out that London's canals have 4 links with the River Thames. There are 128 people employed on the waterways, and there are some interesting population facts here. We can see that there are nearly 6 million people living within 5 miles of London's waterways, which is a large number of people, and nearly 1/3, that is about 2 million people, live within 15 minutes walk of these waterways. If we move on next to the use of London's waterways, they are a centre of activity. We can see from this chart that a huge number of people visit London's waterways each year. In the year 2002-2003, for example, there were 16 million people. Additionally, from this chart, we can see that the number of cycling visits was 740,000, and the number of events was 200 with 67 waterside attractions. There are already many organisations, including businesses and volunteer organisations, involved in keeping the system available to the public. But it is possible that in the future there will be more and more attractions on or around the waterways with local partnerships. If we now move on to my next slide, here we can see that we are going to look at canals in 3 other areas of the world, namely China, Russia, and Italy, where there are important canal systems. Each has a different function and character. In China, we're going to explore the Grand Canal, which links Hangzhou in Zhejiang, in the north of China, with Beijing. The canal stretches some 1,747 kilometres and, as we will see, it has a dual function, one of which is to irrigate rice fields and the other commercial, as it carries trade along its route. The next canal system we will look at is in St. Petersburg in Russia. It has numerous canals and hundreds of attractive bridges, which is why it is often called the Venice of the North. St. Petersburg is a city of great beauty, one of Russia's gems. We shall be looking at the importance of the canals in the city's history. We then look at Venice in Italy, which has an intricate system of canals, most of which can only take small boats.
Speaking 2. Track 4.
I am going to describe a volunteer organization called Water Direct, which helps to protect the river in my hometown. I first came across the organization when I went walking along the river one day and saw people taking rubbish out of the river. There are many reasons why I admire the organization. First of all, it helps improve the city surroundings. If the river banks and the water are clean, it makes the place pleasant and healthy. It is now possible for people to enjoy the river by going swimming and having picnics on the riverbanks, as most of the rubbish has been removed. This is a big difference, as in the past it was very dirty. I think that similar organizations could soon be set up all over the country. In fact, I think it is highly likely.
Unit 9. Finance. Listening. Track 5. Section 1. You will hear a woman, Melanie, asking someone questions for a survey on finance. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Excuse me. My name's Melanie Broughton,
Yes?
and I'm doing a questionnaire on behalf of Finance Survey. Do you mind answering some questions about traveling?
Okay.
Thank you.
Melanie is working for a company called Finance Survey. So, finance has been typed in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Excuse me. My name's Melanie Broughton,
Yes?
and I'm doing a questionnaire on behalf of Finance Survey. Do you mind answering some questions about traveling?
Okay.
Thank you. Have you traveled abroad in the last 3 months?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
And were the trips to the same place or different places?
Different places in Europe, France and Germany, etc.
You said you have been abroad twice in the past 3 months?
Yes.
Did you buy currency each time you went abroad?
It depends. Mostly, yes.
And can I ask you, how many euros did you buy each time?
Let's see. For the first trip, I bought 300 euros. And the second time, I didn't buy so many. Because the first trip was only for 3 days and I didn't spend it all. So I had about 150 left, and I only bought 100 for the second trip.
Was this second trip longer?
Yes.
Okay. And how often do you normally travel abroad each year? 1 to 3 times, 4 to 10 times, 11 or more?
I went abroad 5 times, so it's 4 to 10 times.
And my next question, is that for work or leisure?
It's mostly for work, though I sometimes have a few days to myself when I go abroad.
The next few questions are about currency.
Okay.
When you come back from abroad, do you change the currency back into pounds sterling or do you keep it?
I always keep it because I travel a lot.
Fine, right. We can skip the next 2 questions. So, can I ask you how much you have in a range of currencies?
Yeah, sure.
What about euros? Which band are you in? 1 to 50, 50 to 200, 200 to 500, or more than 500?
Oh, it's 50 euros.
And American dollars?
More than 500.
And any other currency?
I've got dinars from various countries, but not many. Oh, and some Indian rupees.
Which band are they in? Do you want me to repeat the bands?
Oh, no, they are both quite small in the 1 to 50 band.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Do you use only cards or cash when you travel?
A mixture.
And the next question is, what do you use the cash for?
Well, I spend it on taxis, newspapers and snacks. Taxis to and from the airport can be quite expensive, and I have to use them if I'm in a hurry.
And do you use credit cards abroad?
Oh, yes.
For what exactly?
To pay for hotels if they are not paid for in advance, and meals.
Okay. I need to ask you for a few contact details.
Okay.
We don't ask for an address, just an email and a contact telephone number.
Okay.
That's fine. The company may want to check.
No, I don't want to receive any promotional literature. It's really wasteful.
Okay. The company may want to check that you have actually done the survey.
You mean to prove that you didn't complete it yourself?
Yes, exactly.
I'm happy to give you my mobile, but I don't want to give out my email, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fine. Can I take your mobile number?
Yes, it's 03452 433 491.
Thank you.
Speaking 1. Track 6. 1.
Do people in your home country like travelling overseas?
It depends on age.
2.
Which countries are popular with young people?
I think they probably main go to Australia.
3.
How often do people make trips abroad?
At least 3 times a year.
4.
Do people pay more by card now than in the past?
I sure they do.
5.
Is cash more popular than credit cards?
The latter are popular among young than older people.
Unit 10. Nature and Science. Speaking 1. Track 7. The place I am going to describe is a cafe, which overlooks a park near the university where I'm studying. I found the cafe only about 3 months ago, and since that time I've been going there on a regular basis. The cafe is quite busy, with lots of students discussing their studies. I like the cafe a lot because my accommodation is quite small, and there is plenty of space in the cafe. Even when it gets crowded, I can usually find a space at one of the tables that overlook the park. The furniture is all very modern and comfortable, It's much more pleasant than the room in the flat I share. I can sit and watch the birds and daydream when I am studying. I also prefer the cafe to the library because I spend a lot of time in science laboratories doing research, and it's very pleasant to sit and look at nature for a change. I really enjoy spending time there. Listening. Track 8. Section 4. You will hear part of a talk on science and nature. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
My presentation today is on the different ways that the world of science can help nature and humanity. We see a lot of stories in the news about the negative aspects of science, but not enough information is made available about how scientists can help nature and thus the human race. You will see from my first slide that the title of my talk is Nature, Science Gives a Helping Hand. I'm going to provide different examples of how science is having and will continue to have a beneficial impact on the natural world. Then, I'm going to show how that is of great benefit to the human race in general. The presentation will last for 30 minutes, and at the end there will be 10 minutes to ask questions. I've prepared a handout for everyone, so there is no need to take notes. According to current predictions, by the year 2050, nearly 80% of the Earth's population will live in urban areas. And an area of new land, which is about 20% bigger than the size of Brazil, will be needed to grow enough food to feed the extra population. That is, if we continue to use traditional farming practices as practiced today. So, what can be done to deal with this situation? The solution, which at first sight seems rather strange, is a diagonal farm in cities, as we see here from this diagram, which shows a simplified layout of a diagonal farm. Such farms are a neat solution to the lack of space in urban and rural areas. If we look at the diagram, we can see the front of the building, which faces south and slopes at a diagonal, so the various levels can catch the sun. On the bottom level, we have a shop where produce from the farm can be sold. And on this next level, we have a floor where vegetables can be grown, and then on the level above that, fruit can be grown. On the level above the fruit, we can have animals, which would have marvellous views of the city. And at the very top, there could be a centre for alternative energy, with windmills and solar panels to power the building. My next slide is an artist's impression of the simplified version of the farm, which, as you can see, is rather amazing. Another example of science helping nature is GPS technology, which is currently used in cars for navigation and also to track animals such as birds and wild cats over large areas of the world with great accuracy. At one time, birds and animals were tagged with rings around their necks or legs. As technology has become advanced, it is possible to insert information in chips on the rings, so researchers can carry out research on animals in their natural habitats without having to monitor them constantly. The research can be done thousands of miles away in a laboratory. In the near future, by using unmanned aircraft, it will be possible not just to track animals, but actually see them in their own habitat. This will have the advantage of not disturbing natural habitats and will allow researchers to watch animals more easily. Such visual tracking may not work in areas where there is thick jungle, but in the distant future, scientists might be able to develop floating cameras that can maneuver through even thick jungle with ease.
Unit 11. Culture and the Arts. Speaking 1. Track 9. 1.
Do you think museums or old towns are old-fashioned and not exciting? Why? Why not?
2.
What kinds of arts events are popular among young people in your home country?
3.
What kinds of festivals are held where you were brought up?
4.
Do people prefer live performances of music to CDs nowadays?
Listening. Track 10. Section 3. You will hear 2 university students talking to their tutor about selecting pieces of art for the yearly exhibition. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hi, Carla.
Oh, hi, Dr. Irvin. Hi, Wills.
Hi, Carla.
Shall we just get started selecting pieces for the yearly exhibition at the end of the course?
Yeah, let's get down to it.
Yeah.
Can I just ask if Wills and I are the last to make our selection?
Oh no, just under half of the students have chosen their pieces.
Oh, that doesn't make me feel so bad then.
Yes, that is a relief.
We can choose 3 pieces. That's right, isn't it?
Up to 3.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 7. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 7.
That makes it a bit easier. Before we make the selection, can you briefly go through the assessment process from selection to the judging for us?
Yes, it's quite simple really. First, you, the students, choose the pieces of art that you want to be included in the end of year exhibition for the judges to consider.
That's what we're doing now. Okay.
The exhibition organisers check if they think that the pieces are of a high enough standard.
And what happens if they are not up to standard?
Then you're asked to submit another piece.
Ah, okay.
Then the pieces are put in the exhibition hall, and when the hall is tidied up, the members of the judging panel go round and give each piece a score based on a set of criteria. So it's the judging panel that makes the assessment.
What are the criteria?
Generally, the criteria vary from year to year slightly. This and last year's are basically the same. Originality, theme, impact, and, craftsmanship. So that is what we need to bear in mind as we make our selection. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this year there is a new step in the whole process, and that is that we are having a public vote as well, which will account for 20% of the marking.
So the public will be like the fifth judge?
Effectively, yes.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
So, shall we get down to the selections? Carla, have you chosen anything from the drawing category?
Yes, I've got this building design that everyone seems to like.
It's just the right dimensions and it's really very fine indeed. I think that will impress the judges.
Oh yes, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Wills, have you got anything for the drawing category?
No, but I've got something for the painting category. I've had this one in my portfolio for a year now, but I like it.
Oh, the watercolour of the Roman ruins in North Africa. Oh, that's stunning.
Have I seen that one? Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, you're right, Carla. It's wonderful. It really stands out.
Oh, thank you.
The next of the 4 categories is, film art. What about the film category?
I have a short film on street art.
Yes, that one you're putting into the arts exhibition at the annual film festival at the end of the month as well.
It's stunning.
Oh, I hope the judges think so too.
I think they won't be disappointed. And Wills?
I've got this short film on the process of creating a painting. I've called it Mess and Creation.
I like that. It's very funny.
Are you submitting any other pieces?
I'd like to put in a third one in the electronic media category.
Okay.
It's an electronic painting done on an iPad.
That's very different. It will certainly impress the judges.
I've played around with it a lot. It's not as easy as you think.
Unit 12. Communication and Language. Listening. Track 11. Section 3. You will hear 2 university students and a tutor talking about exam preparation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 4.
So this is our last tutorial before you take your exams in communication skills and language. So how can I help you both? Fatima? Alan?
On the course, I found the lectures really fascinating. In fact, I don't think I missed any of them. But the best part was going out into the schools.
That's good to hear, Alan. Some people have found the final year quite tough.
And I changed over to the communication skills and language course at the beginning of the year, as you know, mainly because of the excellent name of the course among students and tutors and among people outside the university, and also because of the practical work in the course.
And are you glad you did so?
Oh, yes. I loved the practical aspect of the course.
Well, you've both got to the end. So, what can I do for you both today?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 7. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 7.
We wanted some tips about getting ready for the final exams and some advice about the courses we're doing. I'm not sure I'm quite ready.
I'm sure you are more ready than you think you are.
I think that Fatima's right.
I think that I could have spent more time on reading for some of the modules.
I'm sure we all could have, but there's a limit to what we can do.
Yes, but I'm not very good under exam pressure. I panic more now, but when I was at school, I didn't.
Maybe it's because you know more now.
Do you think so?
It's perhaps part of the problem. There's also the fact that it's your final exams.
I suppose so.
Is there anything you can advise us to do?
I think the first thing is to make sure you are fresh and rested before the exam. So perhaps stop working about 24 hours before you sit each exam.
Yes, perhaps we should try to.
I made an attempt to before the last set of exams, but I didn't manage to relax before all the exams.
Well, I didn't either.
You can only try. Another thing is make sure you don't go to parties around the exams and read the advice sheet on exam preparation put together by the department. Here's another copy in case you haven't got it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
So, have you decided where you'd like to go after you've graduated?
We've both been looking at the same places and have narrowed it down to 3. Rockham College, Bart's Institute and St. John's School of Languages.
All 3 are good places.
If I'm right, Rockham College has a very good postgraduate course in cross-cultural communication and linguistics.
Yes, but I think we should have applied for this one much earlier, as we both got rejections.
Oh, that's a shame, because it has a very dynamic department. The Centre of Media and Mass Communication. A couple of our students from last year went on to study at the centre.
I've got a place on an MA course in Communication Systems at Barts Institute.
And I've also been offered a place on an MA course in Language Acquisition at the same place.
Both courses are very highly thought of, and Barts is undoubtedly a first-class institution. We've not had any students go on there from here, but it's very good. And St. John's has a good track record for turning out film producers. There was just one student who attended St. John's after leaving here. So, well done.
IELTS Introduction. Student's Book by Sam McCater. Published by Macmillan Education, a division of Macmillan Publishers Limited. Copyright Macmillan Publishers Limited, 2012.